welcome to the virtual coffee chat series. Today's episode 2, and today I have an amazing guest with me that I was really looking forward to talking on this series. Meet my friend Agnieszka. She's a good friend of mine and an ex-colleague. We used to work at Wings for You together when I think between the years 2016 and 2018. And I've had the pleasure of working alongside her on many different projects for many different clients.
Yeah.
And boy, did we have some challenges and rewarding experiences. It was like this, curve of and failures, probably, that I can say that now. But we've had like a lot of great learnings, and yeah, I was really excited to bring you on this series because I think there's just so much that we could talk about, both in terms of marketing. So we were both working in marketing, just to clarify that, and we were both also working remotely, which was a huge part of our lives and our lifestyle.
Yeah, that's how we met, right?
Yeah, and that's how we met. And also something that I want to also mention is that we were working remotely from different countries, and we had these types of chats almost on a daily basis. But one of the best parts about our work experience together was when we actually met in person.
Yeah.
I think the first time we met was in Prague, and it was just such a different experience because we had only known each other through online platforms until that day. And then
it was super exciting to finally meet.
We had this like team meeting in Semily, which is a city in the Czech Republic, and we when we land in Prague, we meet in a car that we had no idea like who's driving the car, where we're going, like who is the actual person that we're meeting in that car. And it was just like at that time, it was just a very, very interesting experience. I know that, because remote working is nowadays so much more normal, it sounds normal to people, but it was a really great experience. And then we had the opportunity of like actually meeting in person in many different cities in Europe. And also, did we go to Asia together too? I don't remember.
No, we didn't. We had a team meeting in India, but I think that was after you left the company.
Yeah, we met in a lot of different European cities, which was again another amazing experience,
including Paris and Luxembourg.
Yeah, Luxembourg, several times in Paris, I think, and then Prague and Semily. So great experiences together. So there was, again, like to repeat, but there's a lot of things that I could talk about, and this conversation could really go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Our aim is going to be to keep it in 30 minutes. And so we decided that we kind of want to talk about the intersection of marketing and remote working. So we're going to touch base on both of those topics. Probably we won't get the chance to go much in depth, but still, I think there's still going to be a lot of value that our audience can get from this conversation. So that's the introduction that I wanted to give. Thank you so much for joining me on this.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited. I know we can talk for hours, and it's going to be really challenging to keep it under 30 minutes.
We'll have further episodes to continue the chat, because there's also stuff that I want to talk about, like technical marketing things that I want to also talk about on these episodes. So who knows, maybe we'll do those later. But anyway, today, now that I've done like that introduction about how we met through remote working and where we met, I want to ask you, like, was that your first experience in remote working as well? Like working at Wings for You, was that your first time? And just a little bit maybe information about how you started your remote working journey.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so wow, it's a long story. I started working more remotely back in 2016, but I graduated in 2012, and for the past 2 years of my studies, which was like daily studies, I was going every day to university. I started working actually actively in marketing in 2010. So for the last 2 years of my studies, I was also working every day. So it was juggling between university and working, but not remotely. That was I'm based in Poland, in Krakow, and I worked in a few tech companies and in a few agencies. So I just when I was at the university, I felt like this is like pure theory. It was really boring. It seemed really boring because it was like I wasn't studying marketing itself. I was studying sociology of media and communication. So it was a lot of theory, and I really, really wanted to just go out there and check, how it is. So that's why I started working at the same time. And for the few years, I worked in companies in Krakow, and it was great, and I learned a lot. But moving forward, I started feeling that my role requiring all this creativity. I don't always feel great in the office. You meet great people, but you also meet people that kind of distract you, especially if you have to focus on some creative things. I really didn't like rushing in the morning, commuting, and all of those things. And somehow in my brain, I started feeling urge of creating something on my own. But I had a lot of, especially from the family, a lot of pressure. Like you have to stay there, you have to have full employment contract. That's important, for your retirement and everything. And
Right.
also, there's like the stereotype of the system not being very friendly here for people starting new business.
Mhm.
So I actually I didn't do it at the time, but it was in my mind. I really wanted to do it. And again, like maybe not again because I'm actually starting to do it a few times in my life, and that was the first time in my professional life that I discovered that if you really boil up something in your brain, some things might come to you in least expected moment. So at the time, I worked in an advertising agency that was with headquarters in Australia, but it had office in Krakow. And suddenly they changed strategy. They just fire everyone from one day to another, but with like this 3 months of salary, so it wasn't too bad. And at the time, I thought that maybe this is a moment when I can start considering this, but I still wasn't like I was scared. So
It
I
does
still,
sound like a sign to take that, faith.
yeah, but that wasn't the time I did actually. But I still looked for a local job and I got it. The first week I got this new job, we discovered with my husband, he was sick. He had health problems. And long story short, he's Italian, and we had to go back to Italy for his treatment. And that was the moment that pushed me to do it because I really wanted to be with him. And I didn't really wanted to still being able to continue working, and that's how I started working remotely. It was freelance at the very first moment. The first few months I was freelancing, but soon after I found Wings for You, and that's how we met.
Exactly. Yes, that's perfect. And can you also tell us maybe a little bit about like how, well, you mentioned like the earlier years of your marketing journey because that's how you started your career, but like maybe how your specialization over the years, how your marketing
Yeah,
journey evolved, and
sure.
what you do now.
Yeah, just for your audience that might be wondering, I mentioned that my husband got seriously sick. He's fine now, recovered. We are back to Poland. Um, just if someone is wondering what happened after. But when it comes to the professional growth, so actually, since the beginning, my role was always kind of like wearing many hats when it comes to marketing, and I never took a.
Like the faith of marketers.
Yeah, but there are some people that choose like
Like you.
SEO or choose social media or choose like very specific field of marketing that then they become experts in, and I think it's great. For me, it was always difficult to choose one thing because I really like being this kind of multitasker.
Mhm.
Which at some point I thought it's a bad thing, and actually even like 1 year ago I thought, damn, like I could never like choose something to specialize in and it's a bad thing. But now I see it's a good thing, and it's just because some companies actually need people like that.
Yeah, that's so
Mm,
true.
so
It's
answering
a
your
very
question,
important point, by the way, because a lot of people from my audience, they want to know if they like if it's a must to specialize in one area of marketing. And although most of the times it can be a benefit because it's Like it's kind of your leverage when you're expert in something. But even if you're not, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be bad for your career, because there's also companies or situations where it's been better to, you know, wear multiple hats and be a multitasker and kind of combine the creative and analytical skills that you can kind of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
think
managing
one of those,
people that are experts in those areas, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I do. So actually, I started. I really touched upon many fields of marketing across my journey. I started with online PR for game development company, and then I started working with some agencies, and I was always like a manager person that was, you know, putting all the dots together.
Mm-hmm.
So I would write on one hand, but then manage designers and putting like strategies together, manage social media, or later on manage people that are managing social media. But I was like one person marketing in a few companies at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn different aspects of marketing on my own. And later on, my role developed more into like marketing manager, managing different freelancers
Mm-hmm.
and different partners. And when we met, I think so, I was marketing manager, and that's exactly how it was. So it was like this one person marketing team that would then collaborate with different freelancers executing the strategy that we would agree with managers and with management basically. Now I'm actually head of marketing, um, in also working remotely in international company, the Scalers. And the Scalers is that's actually interesting because the headquarters are in India. Is in India,
Mm-hmm.
and we work for European companies, or actually worldwide companies, I can say, building their development teams in India and Bangalore. So yeah, now I have my team. Yeah, actually, especially nowadays, it's very interesting concept. And now I have my team of full-time employees that are also um, distributed.
Are they also in Europe or everywhere?
So when I joined the company, there was already some kind of ground based on more like technical aspects of marketing. So they were focusing on SEO and building positioning for the company, and I expanded it and I started creating inbound marketing strategy. So I needed also like creative aspect, creative people in the team. And the idea was that I would actually create this team around me in Krakow. So we wouldn't like work in the office, but we would have opportunity to meet and brainstorm, especially when it comes to creative work. But then soon after the pandemic came, so we work remotely. And we have actually people, so people in my marketing team are in India, but they are also, there's one person in Krakow, one person in the UK, and we are still growing. So we'll see
That's
where the next person will be based.
so exciting. I mean, it's a very interesting business model, and it's also great that you can manage it across different time zones. And I know we've done this like so many times in the past too,
Yeah.
but I know that the concept is also relatively new to a lot of people in the world. So it's important to talk about these things and just, you know, be aware of you know, that it is possible to manage a business and grow the business in different time zones across different, you know, teams and different skills. So it's great you touched upon that. So one more thing that I want to ask to you about, like relating remote working and how it's changed is, so you've been working remotely in the past too. Did you realize any differences after the pandemic? Like, has it really changed anything significantly in terms of how you work? Like, do you think the concept of remote working has changed after the pandemic?
Well, for me personally, not much changed, but I know for many people did, and a lot of people who managed to keep their jobs, they had to, you know, face remote working for the first time. But I think the whole concept of remote working is more familiar now, and kind of brings more trust than before, because now many companies that were skeptical and they were saying that you cannot have the, you know, the culture in the team, like the remote team, and it's only possible in the office. Now they are, you know, organizing those coffee chats with employees. They are doing some cooking shows on Zoom, and they're discovering the whole new world. And many companies say that even after pandemic, if they have to go back to the office, they will allow this flexibility. And actually, we saw that many big tech companies switched fully remote now.
Exactly. Yeah, I
So
mean, everyone kind of had to switch just overnight. And I personally even know a couple of companies that absolutely thought they wouldn't be able to do it if they worked remotely. And now they're thinking if they should be remote first companies.
yeah,
So
exactly.
huge strategy shift. And it's very interesting because we've been in this, you know, structure for a very long time. And I really love observing what's going on these days. And actually, this reminds me that there's like a very good article that we read this morning with my husband, so which I want to share with you and also the audience too later on when I, you know, upload this video. It's going to be very interesting.
Okay,
Okay,
send it
so
over.
one of the great benefits of remote working is that you can kind of create your own schedule, and you can create your own balance within the day. You can balance it out with different activities and stuff. And I know that you've been, you know, very successful at doing this because you have a side project that's like a passion project that you always wanted to do. And I know that remote working has enabled you to do that. So could you maybe just
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
I'll try to make a long story short, but yeah, about the schedule, just one note is that I guess it depends on the company and your role, because some companies may require you to log in at a specific time, but
Sure.
still, some not, and sometimes you might be able to work whenever you want. Um, but even though you don't have commuting, and you save really a lot of time, and you can be more productive because you don't have those chit chats in the kitchen. You know, people don't distract you, so you can really manage your workflow better, I think. And when it comes to my journey, so actually since high school, I've been splitted whether to go marketing or art. So I've been painting since I remember. But again, like, I think due to some family pressure, I didn't choose art as my main profession. And yeah, but I didn't give up, and I was always painting, but it's usually the results were going to my drawer. However, last year I had a moment which I call crisis in marketing. I don't know, I had a moment when I felt burnout, and I thought I will not go back to marketing anymore. It's a probably topic for another call because it could be it can happen, especially if you kind of work a lot and you know you again engage emotionally, you engage in your work, and at that time I thought that I didn't specialize in anything specific and it's a bad thing, and I don't know what I want to specialize in. And yeah, I really had a crisis, so I gave sorry.
Sounds like you had a major career dilemma.
I actually, at the time, I finished collaboration with one client in San Francisco. And I had a moment of like whether to look for a new job, but what I really want, so I want to specialize in, or I give myself a little time to think. And I decided to take a break. I took a few months break when I focused fully on my passion project. So actually for the past few years, I also had a blog about Italy. It's in Polish, unfortunately for your audience. um, because I'm really passionate about Italian culture and language and everything related to this country. But I was also painting, so there were those three areas: marketing, painting, and Italy. Yeah? So Italian blog. And I just started painting, you know, some things kind of inspired by Italy, from landscapes to other things. And I just started showing it on Instagram related to that blog. And it kind of kicked on. So I started getting questions from people whether they can buy my illustrations, and you know, just seeing this question was so absurd at the time for me that someone even considers buying my art, that I just went for it. So actually, since then, many things happened. So this year I already launched my first painting collection on Instagram, because it was like all online
Pandemic.
exhibition on live on Instagram. It got almost sold out within the next few days. And I'm thinking of the next one. So I have my online store. I will consider making it in English too. And yeah, I just keep doing this in my free time, and I love it. And that was also the
Amazing that
time.
you do it. And maybe just like one more thing that's connected to this is because it's also something that I really support, like, you know, doing side hustles and going for these extra projects, especially in the beginning of your career. I think it's also very important because um, it really gives you a lot of experience in terms of, I mean, like, I know that painting and the, you know, it, everything about Italy is your passion, but also what you do with it still is connected to marketing, because you're still
Yeah,
marketing your project. Like, you're, I mean,
yeah,
nowadays business, like, it's no longer just a project, but you're also marketing it. You're, you know, you have a website for it, you know how to do e-commerce for it, you are creating content, you're maybe doing advertising, who knows. But all of these are also like additional marketing experiences. And
exactly.
when you are all alone on doing some, you know, some kind of side hustle, it's just an intense amount of experience, which I really, really support for everyone.
It's
So
actually crazy because I work usually with this B2B marketing, which is different than
yeah,
B2C. So I use some of the knowledge from work in the passion project, but on the other hand, it's so much different
yeah,
that I'm learning completely new things.
learning on its own.
And you know, I was always dreaming of having like my own brand where I would physically assemble package of something. So in
Yeah.
this case it's my art, like decide about color of the paper, the box, like take care of all of those details because I'm very like creative artistic person. So I'm doing that. And at work it's still marketing, but it's like completely different world.
So you, yeah, maybe you can see the differences, you can, you know, learn one thing from, you know, one of them and apply it to the other one, who knows. But it's, I think it's, I mean, one, it's amazing that remote working gives you the opportunity to kind of do that as well, but also it's great that you can kind of cross those different experiences and kind of again blend it into your marketing experience, like the, you know, this wholesome marketing
Yes,
experience.
exactly. I think one of the biggest, maybe not only stereotypes, but um, maybe kind of stereotypes and in the professional career, especially at the beginning, is that you have to choose. And when you are 19, when you graduate, or 20, you really have no idea often. Some people do, and maybe they are lucky, and then they often switch or change. But like I had no idea what I'm gonna end up doing eventually. So, and I think it's fine. That's
I
what's
completely,
great about it, that you can experience different things, do different things on the way, and ultimately you maybe don't even have to choose one thing. You can still do
yeah, you can still do
those.
more.
Yeah, actually everything is like now I do that within my business because my company is, you know, I have registered company, and on one hand I have that client, I work for him full time,
Mm-hmm.
but for the same company I sell my art, yeah, like under the same like name
That's
of the.
the same, yeah, brand name. Yeah, so true. I love that perspective. And I love that, you know, ability to do multiple things at once as well. Okay, I love this. So the last question I want, and I think this is kind of becoming like my standard question of for these episodes, but I think it's just very relevant to what we're going through right now. Is, are there any marketing trends or changes, any updates that you're kind of observing in light of COVID-19, and just your expectations or observations on what's going to happen in terms of marketing?
Mhm. Well, one thing is that the companies are going remote and they are using it for the marketing too. So that's one thing. But another fascinating thing I see everywhere is that, you know, this kind of at home is a new normal. So you don't need professional studio. Even the companies or like, you know, TV programs that had professional studio are doing it now from home, which is totally acceptable and great. And some shows I used to watch, you know, John Oliver, you know, doing it now from home with white background.
Yeah.
Or even fashion brands doing this. Zara made this campaign, like models taking pictures from home in outfits.
Oh, haven't seen.
Completely changes perspective. Like you don't need a professional studio, professional makeup. Turns out that it's all about content, and all about
Authentic.
what you want to say at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think that changes everything, and it gives also chance to people that couldn't afford maybe having all this professional setup to just do what they want to do.
I love that. That is so important, and that's actually a perspective that I hadn't really thought about before. I know that like I'm observing it, but I hadn't really put it much thought into it. And it's just it's so well put that you said, that being at home and that authenticity, making sure that what you want gets across, but it's not just the production value that's kind of, in the way. So you're kind of eliminating all those fanciness, but you're just, showing or presenting the real brand or real you. Yeah, that's really something to think about. I think that's a great perspective. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. I think we've hit probably 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, but that was such a great conversation. Thanks.
We could keep
Joining.
talking probably for a long time.
Absolutely keep talking for like so many more hours. Thanks so much for joining me. I really
Thank you. If any of your viewers have more questions, let me know. We'll try to address them.
I'm sure there will be comments when I upload the video, so we can also have a conversation in the comments, or who knows, we'll have another episode where we continue this chat, or maybe explore a topic in further detail.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, and take care.
Take care. Bye bye.